about
ready?
probate
Yeah,
held
half an hour.
Chino? See, if you add on the geographical location at the end, localizes it, and then, bam, that's
You know,
better.
foreclosurehelp.com is available for sale, $100,000.
For
Alright, so
$100,000.
go for it.
Go for it. There was a guy who bought a name that had to do with pizza, and then at the end he added the city, and he bought, I think, every one in the country. And then he was licensing that,
Yeah.
that pizza delivery, like pizza delivery dash Chino, pizza delivery, and he would license those out to people in those areas who delivered pizzas. He made a fortune. It wasn't Domino's, it was like just the domain pizza delivery. And it was pizza delivery dash Anaheim, he bought all the domain names.
Hey, Ryan,
Licensed them out.
can we blow that picture up of me? I wanna see what it looks like on the big screen.
It's done.
Okay.
I thought it was just up there, it's the wild game.
See, that's the most motivating picture I have ever seen. I will work.
Isn't it amazing? Life's all about choices. And
You work extra hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
In a parallel universe, there's the Mike McDonald's guy out there.
If there was ever a motivator to keep up my work ethic, it's that picture.
Can I send you a picture of me and throw one up? So send it back to me? That'd be good.
Go to fiverr.com, I'm sure somebody.
Did you bring the cowboy picture?
Right. So, going back to,
So there we were.
emphasis
In the
through cosmetics. Everybody got all freaked out because nobody likes looking at transvestites, but you derailed me. The reason we do that is when I'm speaking to somebody, you're able to use voice inflection, tone, volume. In a sales letter, you can't do that. So you have to do it with cosmetics, bold, underline, italics, different size, different font, headline, subheadline. That's the reason for using those. Don't use them just to make your letter look different or make it look old. The fact that you got it open, you've accomplished step one, but we use those for emphasizing the things that we can't do on paper. So, it's not just creativity for the sake of being creative. All right. How to build and track a successful marketing campaign. This, in my opinion, this is what has set Aaron and I apart from everybody else in our business and our market, is having the system in place that gives us all the data, manages all of our marketing for us, and more importantly, gives us the feedback that we need to know what's working and what's not. So I'm going to show you some very specific information about our business, and for those of you who are recording, I would ask that these recordings not get out. It's pretty proprietary information, and frankly, nobody outside of this room other than Aaron has ever seen this information. So, and I like to keep it that way. I don't want to see these recordings on, posted publicly or this information shared. There's been a lot of money, a lot of years, and a lot of research that have gone into building this, and I'd like to keep it that way. The reason I say that, we have been offered money to buy the system. That was pretty laughable, but it was starting in the six figures, and we turned them down. So, there you go. So, campaign structure. You were asking for your picture, Mike. McDonald's, what's their secret?
Me?
Location touch system.
Yep.
Don't get ahead of me.
I think it's location.
No cheating, Bob. Is it the great food?
Hell no.
Really? Is it the highly skilled staff? Is it the clown? Is it the secret recipe? Paul said it. They have a system.
Yep. You know what you're
So
gonna get every time.
I read the book, Grinding It Up.
What is it?
Grinding It Up, McDonald, Ray Kroc.
Ray Kroc actually
Yeah.
wrote that book.
Grinding It Up.
I've never heard that.
1960 something. The book is old, so.
So they've got a system in place that they can just plug things into, the people, the location, the building, the equipment, and it will run in California the same that it does in New York. And anywhere in the world now.
Did you email me that picture?
It came up on the Mars group.
I'm sure anybody here can, yeah.
Please do. I gotta have that.
No.
That is my motivator. I have a new motivation.
To go work at McDonald's.
No, keep my work ethic up.
I never want to be there.
You know what, these people don't feel it because the vents are blowing.
Are you guys all hot over there?
So
I
you're
know.
not doing the
Warm.
every January bumper to
We're
bumper
okay.
anymore. You're doing this picture
So
now.
why you wanna come snowboard or something? What are you talking about?
I have to see Mike's picture, apparently, yeah.
That's just my Alright, you guys can talk about that later.
That's all.
Alright, so,
Yeah.
what sets McDonald's apart is the fact that they have a system that they can just now plug pieces into. And it's the same with our marketing. I can plug in a list, I can plug in a piece, I can plug in a variable that we wanna test, and the system is already running. It's just kinda, I imagine like this conveyor belt and stuff's just going by me, and if I wanna take something and just throw it on there, the conveyor belt's just gonna, you know, take it along with the rest of the stuff and continue to do its job. That's kinda how our marketing works now. So, for a campaign structure, we're gonna talk about hits, we're gonna talk about frequency, sequencing, measuring, fulfillment, budgeting. I'm gonna show you specific numbers from our results, and how to test and get the feedback from your testing. Here is a campaign structure.
Can you go back one? I missed the last two.
Sorry.
Okay.
Wait. It is. This is getting ready to get ready. Go ahead. You guys good?
Yep.
Alright. So this is, don't think specifics, think process right now. Here's the mechanics of how our marketing works. If we have a seller campaign, doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter which list. If we have a seller campaign, and in developing this campaign, we've decided that this seller is going to get hit by us 8 times consecutively. Our system will lay out the 8 hits and start mailing them at the interval that we specify. I promise we're going to talk about the intervals. So what happens if we set this person up to mail them 8 times and they finally pick up the phone and call us on the 3rd hit? Should we continue mailing them on hits 4 through 8 and spending money on them?
No.
They already called, right?
Yeah.
What I really want to do is step it up. So we're going to cancel the last half of the first campaign, and now they're on a more accelerated campaign, which is our follow-up campaign. They're going to get a more expensive piece more often. They've raised their hand. Aaron didn't buy it on the phone, but they've raised their hand and said, I'm interested. I got a property. Aaron didn't C-file them. There's an opportunity there. We just didn't get them yet. So we're going to continue mailing these people on a follow-up campaign. So now they're set for another 8 hits to be followed up on. We canceled the first one. Now let's say we sent them a few letters, they call back, Aaron buys the house on the phone. We don't want to continue mailing them on hits 4 through 8. That campaign gets canceled for this particular seller. Now they go on a seller referral campaign. We bought the house, everything worked out great, they love us, they got what they wanted. Got any friends? Send us a testimonial. Or we solicit for testimonials intentionally now on every seller that we buy a house from. We send them a thank you card, and we send them a blank thank you card. Self-addressed. Please tell us about your experience in working with us. They send it back to us, and we started collecting those now. And we started sending those back out with our offers. We just did that yesterday. We've taken our little collection of handwritten testimonials from other sellers, some of which are dated recently, which I really like. And we're now including those with offers that are going out.
Gotten any negative ones back?
No. No, we have not.
Raving reviews.
Actually, the card, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but this was intentional on my part. The card that we send them to send back to us is like a red, almost looks like a birthday card or some kind of celebration card. It says thank you all over the front.
We do
So they're probably not
everything
gonna-
with intention. Everything. Don't just say, oh, I'm gonna send out cards. Think about it. Like, all right, I'm gonna send out a card. Look at all your options. You know, what's the best card to get? So you get a card that says thank you on it. How you gonna open it up right inside like you bunch of jerks?
Right.
Right?
They could.
I mean, they could, but they don't. So,
And so they go on, so after we buy the house, now we wanna know, do you have any friends that have properties for sale that we can help? Because who's your best salesperson now? It's not Aaron anymore. It's is the guy who just bought a house from. Let them go tell their story to their friends in their own words about how you did them right and what a great deal they got. So that's the structure of how our campaigns work. Sometimes,
Pieces of cheese.
what's that?
I don't know why they look like wedges of cheese to me.
You hungry?
Maybe I am.
Sometimes we get to the end and we don't buy the house. We'll get through the 8 hits, or I think we're up to 16 on one campaign. We've got a 16-step sequence on one campaign, and we don't buy the house, so they just drop off. At some point in the future, they may get reactivated onto another, on a different type of campaign because we didn't buy their house and because they never responded.
Are those 8 postcards with slightly different messages on each?
Pretty much, yes. Yes, in a general sense, because remember, we're not talking about specifics of the list, this is just a seller campaign, but generally speaking, because this
They haven't really
campaign
raised their hand yet, they're still that
Exactly,
unqualified.
exactly. They're not a
So it's
qualified.
low cost.
Right. I'm trying to get them to call me as cheaply as I can. But when they do call, absolutely, I'll spend.
Then we go to the gizmo.
It doesn't matter, to be honest. It doesn't matter how much we spend when we get to this step.
Cause your clients are worth,
I will show you.
no.
I will show you specifics.
You said you have one that's going into the 16th one or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
But do they usually stop, does your program usually stop at 8?
No. 8 is our minimum hits for, if I've taken the time to scrub and isolate and harvest an address that I thought was worthy of my attention, the minimum times that they're gonna hear from me is 8, because industry standard says it takes 7 hits. Now, we've got data to show that they might call on the 1st, they might call on the 4th, 5th, but typically, on average, you have to mail them 7 times before they respond. It's a lot of money, and I wanna know, what did it take to get this person to call me? So, but yeah, 8 is our minimum. For you guys, 4 should be your minimum. And for budgeting purposes, more importantly, 4 should be your minimum. But I would really try to stretch it out to 8 if you can.
Now,
When
every
you-
time you send out one, do you, let's say, after the 3rd one and he still doesn't call, do you change something in your message or something to
This is,
tweaking?
in an ideal world, the answer to that is all of these would be different pieces. Like on this one, we have, on our big campaign, we have 4 different pieces right now that go out at different hits. So we have 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8 are the same piece. So we switch it up. See how it's going?
Mhm.
Yeah, 1 and 5, 2 and 6. So down here, and I'm actually writing these right now, on the follow-up, they are different pieces. It's a different letter, getting a little bit more aggressive each time. Yeah, I wanna up the temperature of that prospect as we're moving along. Everybody kinda understand how that works? I don't know how you would do this very easily manually, but you should. You should figure it out, whatever works for you. Mike's, got his way of doing things and it works just fine for him. But this is, that I have, figured out, this is the most cost-effective way and the most effective way of getting the mail out. I think you could probably manage this in Excel with a little effort. Ours does it all automatically, I don't have to think about it. We have a system like McDonald's. I mean, ours is down to that level, but I think you could probably still do the same thing pretty effectively, at least using Excel. And, moving them manually from one list to another when they call as they're moving through the phone. So, how many hits? How many times should we hit them? I'll tell you the answer is not 1. You should flush your money down the toilet or send it to me if you're only gonna mail them 1 time. Again, my biggest pet peeve when I hear people come up and ask me marketing questions, my question right back to them is how many times did you mail them? sent, 100 letters last week, and, well, how many times have you mailed that person? One. That's not what it takes. It's not what it takes to get the phone to ring. I will tell you that the minimum should be 4, and probably up to 8. And I'll show you how we determine what that number should be. And as I mentioned before, the industry standard is 7. You have to hit somebody 7 times. I actually think that came from email. I don't know if how well that applies to direct mail. But somewhere in my head, the industry standard is you have to be in contact with somebody 7 times for them to feel comfortable with you. Frequency? The answer to that question is, what is their decision-making window? And all I could find for window was some Asian guys hanging off of a scaffold. The example here is, so this is a pretty easy one because they've got a definite decision-making window. With an NOD, you get 90 days and 21 days, and you're done. So once the clock starts ticking, they have 111 days to make a decision.
In a typical foreclosure market.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Maybe not now.
Now they got about 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What about an expired listing? What's their decision-making window after their listing expires?
Depends.
Well, it's indefinite, right?
Right.
Tough.
Right. I would probably say 6 months in their situation. Somebody, because they've had a house for sale, they wanted to sell it and it didn't work out. Somebody who you don't know has a house for sale, we schedule for 90 days. They get hit every 90 days because we don't really know. We're just kind of fishing. NOD, they got a problem that they need a solution to, and their decision-making window is relatively short. So I would schedule that between 4 and 8 hits. So in this situation, it's the decision-making window divided by the number of hits is the frequency. So in this situation, you got 111 days divided by your 8 hits. You're going to hit them every 14 days. Easy enough. Could be 4. That's how you know how often to hit them. And again, you really got to think through the more on the psychographic side. What's their problem? What is this particular person's time frame that they're going to do something? I checked our campaigns, and they range from 111 days up to 990 days. Some of our campaigns are scheduled out. Because on the 990-day campaign, we probably don't know. It's a big general list, and we're not sure if they want to sell. We just are hoping that they do. I don't know what that is. What is that, 3 years or something?
It's like 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
A simple way, if you don't have a database, you don't have any computer skills, is get a file cabinet with hanging folders and hang 52 folders in there, 1 for each week. And you put in the leads that you want to follow up on in this week, and then you call them, you say, I'm going to set them for follow-up every month. So every 4 folders, add their name to the list in that folder, or something like that. So if you had 52 folders in there, that could be a 52-week follow-up campaign, and you could have a sheet in there that had whatever, some kind of a reference or an address or something on there, and you just, when you call somebody, like, oh, call me back next month, you go a month out, pull out the thing, write it in. So that'd be a simple way to do it.
So frequency with like absentees, if there's no decision-making window, how frequent would you do that?
90 days.
Every 90 days? Okay.
I think 6 months is too infrequent.
What'd you say about 6 months?
I think 6 months is too infrequent.
So you're not talking about mailing once every 90 days, you're saying 90 minus, they're divided by 8 equals the frequency, or what are you?
No, mailing every 90 days.
Every 90 days.
Okay.
It's just a standard absentee list every
And,
day.
and the thing with the deal with that is an absentee today is still going to be an absentee next year if they don't sell. A person in foreclosure today is not going to be a person in foreclosure a year from now because that decision is being made for them.
Same with the probate.
Right. There's a window there. I'd probably set probate up on 18 months. Does that sound about right? That's a typical time frame it takes to get a probate done. So I would schedule that somewhere around an 18-month campaign, and take your 8 hits and divide it by 18, and that's how often you need to mail a person. All good? Sequential mailings, so we're building our campaign now, and we figure that we're gonna hit these people 8 times a piece. You don't wanna just keep sending the same thing over and over again. So what you do wanna do though is increase urgency. Some of the ways to do that are referring to the market decline. The market has gone down more this month than it did 2 months ago. So you can, start to add some urgency into your sales copy. Again, the deadline, the external pressure, which is the best because it's not coming from you. You're the good guy, here to solve their problem. But if they've got an external deadline, like a foreclosure date, or a tax sale coming up, those are the types of things that, you can increase your urgency as your mail gets, or as your campaign gets further into the sequence. Increase pressure, you can just start being a little bit more forceful rather than, hey, you wanna sell your house? It's like, I've written you 5 times, you haven't responded, I'm getting a little offended, did I say something wrong? Really, I mean.
What do you got to lose?
Yeah.
You gotta say, the house
What do you got to
is
lose?
called you back, and I'm about to give up on you, and what are you gonna do then? I mean,
One of the headlines I love, and I stole this from Dan Kennedy, it's in our follow-up, and it's probably around maybe the 5th or 6th hit. They get a letter, and the headline is, it's a letter of regret. And I really regret that you and I were not able to come to an agreement on buying your house.
I think I've seen it.
It's a damn shame, let's work this out kind of thing. So you can increase the pressure in your sales language as well.
How's your response to that letter? It's a damn shame letter.
I actually don't say it's a damn shame, I just was alluding to the language. On the follow-ups, I don't know, and I don't know specifically which hit. It's all geared toward actually, you know what, I take that back, I could probably look.
So when you get a call, you know which letter, how many times you've hit them,
Yep.
and when they called.
we know what the day we mailed it.
Yeah, I could give you when they call, the first thing Aaron does is look up their lead, their address, and their entire history of how many times and what we've mailed them and when they got it and how much it cost us is right there in front of them. And then it takes that information and pulls statistics on it. So remember, I showed you the campaign stops, so we know that 72% of the people call on the 3rd time we mail them, for example.
Right, that doesn't fit into my 6th grade level program.
But this is how we know what's working and what's not. I've seen on one of our campaigns, I've seen a significant variance between the 2nd and I think it's the 6th hit. But on the 5th hit, we didn't buy anything. It was thousands of pieces of mail.
But you gotta get to the 5th to get to the 6th. So.
Exactly, and then
And
we
you
made.
bought them 6th.
We bought a lot on the 6th.
And then we made, tens of thousands of dollars after that, but I can look at each campaign and see that, wow, we didn't buy anything on this one, but we bought a ton because we kept mailing them and we didn't give up.
So if you're doing a follow-up with letters, and you know that your response on the 6th is really crappy, but you need that touch to get to the 7th, well, on the 6th, send a cheap postcard. Don't send something expensive, send something cheap, right? Save yourself a ton of money. And then on the 7th, when you know you have statistically better response, you send a better, something that more attractive, bulky piece or something where, hey, I know I get a good response rate, so now I'm gonna send something that's gonna help me drive that response rate even higher.
Brilliant.
We're geniuses at this, dude.
I'm telling you.
There ain't nobody out there who does what we do.
I'm feeling like Fred Flintstone.
Or like a McDonald's employee.
You do all the way to the 16.
What's that?
So you do all the way to the 16 campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got 69,000 addresses, each at some stage of being in the 15 campaigns. Multiple hits, it's a lot, and that's why we had to build the system to do it, because I can do all that.
It's really hard to go all the way that far.
But again, you guys don't need this system because you don't need to know all this crazy stuff that we're addicted to knowing. You get the benefit of, we're giving you what works. We're telling you what works. We're telling you the way to do it. And you don't need some 100,000 hour, $1 million software to figure out. So we'll just tell you, mail this out. And when you mail this out and they call, stop mailing that out, start mailing this out. And that works. And we told you, when they call and you don't get an agreement, mail out something enticing, like a bank bag or something. We're telling you what we do. This is how we make money.
Yeah. So the other thing that you can do in the sequential mailings, if you don't wanna, you know, start with a hard sell or increase in urgency, at least reference the previous letter. Hey, you know, I've mailed you 3 times already, so your 4th hit could say, hey, I've mailed you 3 times already and I haven't heard from you. Or in the last letter I sent you, I asked if you would be, you know, interested in an all cash offer, would you be interested in terms for a higher price? And just, you can always reference the previous letter. And when you're doing that though, it's good to have sort of a theme, so keep it a themed campaign, so. Be mindful of that.
Ryan, for the reference to previous letters, is this still within the first 16 you're talking about? Or is it the next?
Really just in any campaign. It should be, you know, as you're getting along, you're getting toward the end of the campaign, you're still spending money on this person, they still haven't called you, so step it up. You know, the thermometer, increase the urgency a little bit. Or, like I said, at least reference the previous letter.
So if it's an example, like if it's a code violation and you're mailing the guy, then you know over time those violations will only get more and more expensive. This county keeps putting more and more pressure on them. You're not going to just switch it up and start saying something else, not referencing the fact that they still have this outstanding code violation out there. You would keep your message consistent throughout that campaign, referring to the time that's passed and how much. Like we had an example of that as a guy. He called me in the week, and I spoke to him, and then on Friday I said, well, here's my offer, and so this is the same thing, but verbally, so you could do it written with a marketing campaign. I said, here's my offer, you're getting fined $1,000 a day, so I'll give you the weekend to decide, but know that if you don't call me back till Monday, it's cost you an extra $3,000 to make that decision. And I think he called on Saturday and sold us the house.
Sunday.
Yeah, he called on Sunday and sold us the house.
He goes to bed going, crap.
Which didn't help. He still cost him $3,000 because he had to get to Monday to do business. So if he was smart, he should have just sold us then. But that message, he went to bed with that in his head, and he woke up and it was still in his head. And all day long Saturday, it ate him alive. And on Sunday, he's like, I can't take it anymore. I'm losing money every minute. So you just keep your marketing message consistent throughout the campaign.
This is my opinion, because we've seen how Mike operates, but in my opinion, these are the metrics that you must know about what you're sending out. How many units? How many leads? How many offers? How many deals? How much profit?
Leave that up there for a sec.
And the reason it's good to know this stuff is because we'll tell you on a specific campaign how much money we make per dollar we spend. And I was talking to some of you guys earlier that if we're spending $1,000 on this campaign and making $7, and then this actually just happened, and we're spending $1,000 and we made $35,000 per dollar. I mean, $35 per dollar. Well, why would we keep doing this campaign? It's good, but it's not as profitable as this one. Let's take that $1,000 and move it over here and focus more on this one.
Yes. Do more of that.
So it's just about getting a higher return on on your investment.
And that's exactly what this is. Marketing to me is strictly an investment. And I've got it down to knowing where my investments do the best.
How are you guys keeping track of like all your touches with that prospect? Like whether it's they call in and then you're sending them something, or like the day you send them a money bag,
You could just create, like I said, you could create an Excel spreadsheet, and on that Excel spreadsheet in the first column you could have their name, the property address, what it is. You can make that a hot link. You can't do it on Google Docs because Google Docs can't hot link into your computer. But on your computer you can have, and this is how I used to do it before I started working with Ryan. And that hot link can go into a folder on your computer. So you can have a folder called marketing that is, and in those folders, there's folders for every property. So, and in there you can have copies of the marketing pieces you sent out or something like that. Or just a Word doc that you can list out, I spoke to them on this day. Then when they call again, you can sort it, and you can look, oh, okay, I got your address, you click it, boom, it opens up the folder. You can open up the Word doc, and in there it has all the information, all the notes. Every time you talk to them, you take notes. And I always do that. People call me, like, well, I'm doing this, and hold on, I'm just putting some notes here in my system, and I just type in what they're telling me, and I take a lot of notes on the rapport side of it. Just more notes on that than I do on he's 81 years old,
Right.
you know, I write all that stuff down, the next time I talk to him, hey, you know, how's it going? And I'll refer to that stuff, and it helps build that relationship.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that like the one day.
And so
Like the report stuff, you can come back, like say it's 3 or 4 months, you're like,
Closer
hey, how was
to
your
birthday.
vacation? How was your dog?
Exactly,
Right?
and now it's like, wow, I know this guy and trust him,
Yeah.
he's not gonna rip me off, and I'm not, so.
So that folder you make once they make the first touch to you.
Yeah, once they
then you do the off-
touch, then you don't want to sit there and create, I mean, you
Yeah.
actually physically have to create it. You have to right click on it, create a link, and then you go and select the folder to make a link to. You can figure it out, it's really easy to do. It's just
Okay.
right click on Excel and you'll see it, create hot link or something, I don't remember what it's called, but then you go and select the folder and it links to that folder.
When we get to the deal funnel, I'll show you at the phase, what happens. And so as the deal is moving through different phases in our system, these processes are happening automatically in the background. You might have to do them manually, but and I'm gonna give you guys a copy of this, the deal funnel. But you can at least be thinking of, it's in this phase, here's what should be happening, right? So ours does it automatically, but at least you can maybe make it happen manually.
Cool. So that system I just told you about, when I was working with the guy that I worked with for Ryan, we were sending out thousands and thousands of pieces of mail, and I was managing about 150 leads per month with that kind of system. And we bought tons of houses, we made a lot of money. So just using that simple system.
So here's the next breakdown on the metrics. Cost per unit is your CPU. This is how we actually look at the data. Cost per lead, CPL. Offers per sale, OPS. Cost per sale is your CPS. And your ROI. I'm going to show you how we get to each of these. This might be a little dry, but this information's made us a lot of money.
Especially this year.
What was the last one, Ryan?
ROI. So, cost per unit. How we calculate material costs. This might seem petty. If I buy a box of 500 envelopes for $10.77, I add the tax and divide that by the 500 envelopes, and I get a unit price per envelope. I put that in one of the things in our system under this campaign. And I also write that number on the box, so I can always refer back to it because prices change. So on my box of envelopes, if you look at our closet right now, it'll say, 0.0232 each. And that number is put on our database, and that's what does the calculations for us. And we do that for everything. We do it for, well, I'll show you what we do it for, but every piece that goes into the campaign, so postage, the envelope, the letter, the printing, which you might not think of, but if you're running these letters in-house and you buy a $40 cartridge that gets 2,000 pages, there's a cost to that.
We spent a lot of time researching cartridges. Experimenting with different cartridges to find the most optimal, what's the word? Optimal one, one that prints out the best and stuff.
Labor. If we're having somebody do these, we pay somebody to do these on a per unit basis for us. That gets all added in there, and I'll show you how we do that. But real quick story, why do I take it to the ridiculous and go to 4 decimal places? What's that?
Warning.
Warning?
Warning. So the quantity, because you do large quantities.
Yes, quantity. So back when I was a young lad in software development, I worked for a shipping company. And I was meeting with the
Back when you were a merchant marine.
yes.
Back when I was a merchant marine.
You guys met out at sea?
Yep.
Foreign port.
And who knew? Who knew?
I was talking with the, we were developing the software for the shipping company. I was meeting with the owner, and the owner told me, if I change that number on our fuel service charge, it adds an extra $20,000 to my bottom line. Now, keep in mind, this was a huge, international, multi-million-dollar company. But to me, who was probably making 50 grand a year at the time, I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. And so that always stuck with me, and that carried into the development of this. And as you'll see, when you're sending out 200,000 pieces of mail, that little number actually adds up. And we've got a system that does it automatically, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, I just gotta get the data in there when we're purchasing materials and figuring out what the costs are. So cost per unit of a typical letter campaign. Number 10 envelope, in-house printing. Remember I told you we figure out how many, the cartridge will tell you, this cartridge will yield, 2,000 pages. So we take that number and plug that in the system. Paper, postage, probably needs to be upgraded to 45 now. Labor, we have a girl that does. Yeah, we've got those forever stamps, or our stuff's a little different, but labor, I have a girl that stuffs and seals envelopes for 20 cents a unit. So that's.
Does she address them too?
Depending on the campaign. Sometimes I pay her more, sometimes I don't, because I just figure it kind of averages out, because some of them are really easy and some of them are a little bit more involved. But we, on each hit, we'll plug all these figures in there. And so now I know that this particular cost per unit to get a letter out is 69.12 cents. So that number is calculated into our system. Why that's useful is when it transfers over to calculating the cost per lead. So you mailed 2,000 units using your 69 cents. It cost you $1,382.40. Out of those 2,000 units, you got 60 seller calls. Your cost per lead is $23.04. Why is that important?
You better pick up the phone.
You gotta
It
pick up
costs
the phone. It costs
$23.
you $23 when it rings, exactly. And it varies. Ours will go up and down, and sometimes they get more expensive. And when I see that number start going up, I start trying to figure out what's wrong, what changed, what's not working anymore. So benefit is, how much does it cost to make the phone ring? Offers per sale. We calculate every time we make an offer. Aaron puts a little check in our database, and we keep track of all of the offers. Actually, it does it by date, so we know when the offer was actually made. So if you got 60 seller calls, 12 of those were good enough to make an offer on. We count those. And if you bought 2 houses, your offers per sale are 6 to 1. Why is that number important?
When you're frustrated on your 5th offer,
Keep one more.
one more and you're there.
Yes, and we know that. We know that number, and we know that we're usually, when, like Aaron said, when you're getting frustrated and it doesn't seem like things are popping, you might just be one away.
So you should just plan on making at least 6 offers a week.
If that were the real number. This is all
Theoretical.
example. I will show you our real numbers. But here's the benefit. If you made 50 and you got 0, you know you're making stupid offers. And we calculate all that. It also tells you that you're probably not in tune with the market.
We're super greedy.
Or super greedy. Right? You're making stupid offers.
Yeah, you can't have one group making 12 offers and getting 1 accepted, and you're making 50 offers and getting none accepted. I mean, a house is a house. The underlying motivations, they're not that much different. So it's just something about the way you're doing the business.
And so, again, these are metrics that we look at to figure what's working, what's not, what needs to be tweaked.
And you can't say, oh, well, I'm, not to pick on guys down south, I'm in San Diego, I'm in LA. Well, we're in San Bernardino, which is, pretty.
It's like San Diego.
It's below entry level housing, San Bernardino, sorry. And Richard Kelly is in the Bay Area, and houses start at $500,000, and he's getting offers accepted, and we're getting offers accepted. So it's not the price of the house. He does direct mail, we do direct mail. It's, it's not the mail, it's something in the middle, and it's not the fly swatter, it's the guy swinging it, right? So.
Cost per sale. You got 60 calls. Each one cost you $23.04. Out of those 60 calls, you bought 2 houses. Your cost per sale is $691.20. It's, your $23 per lead times 30 that it took you to buy a house. Why is that number important?
If you make money.
Cause you know if you spend $691, you make a profit.
Yes.
Just make sure your wholesale fee is more than $691.
Exactly.
Right.
This is all an investment, right? If your cost per sale is higher than your net profit, you lost. You lost money. Another thing that I might recommend you do if you're retailing, once you know what that number is and you're using the profit analysis sheet, plug in that number like a buying commission. Add that to your expense. That's a real cost that it costs you to buy that house.
And this is also why when Ryan and I are out at an investment club or something, and then somebody comes over and says, well, I sent out 300 letters, and I got 3 calls, but I didn't buy a house, we're just, you know, it's just like, why are you wasting my time talking to me? I spent $700 to get a deal.
Yeah.
And you spent 120, and you're complaining? Please.
Everybody got that?
Yep. Got it.
Return on investment. This is where I get excited. You spent $1,382.40 on marketing. You bought 2 houses. You wholesaled them both for $5,000 each. You made $10,000 in total profit. Your ROI is $7.23, meaning I spent $1,300.82, or $1,382. I got $10,000 back. For every dollar I spent on marketing, I got 7 back. Is that a good deal?
Does that motivate you from going, you know, I spent 120, I didn't get a deal, to knowing, well, we spent 700 to get a deal, and on that 700, you know, we made $7 for each $1 we spent, so that's, you know, $4,900. So that should be the motivation, of be like, okay, I understand $120 doesn't work. I gotta get to the 700 in order to get to the 49, because 120 is just money flushed down the toilet.
I will do that deal all day long. We have one campaign that runs, the stats on it right now, it's $1.99. I get $1.99 for every dollar I spend on marketing. How many times a day can you do that? How many dollars you got?
Because you're making profit.
All day.
Right? As long as you're not going negative. This is how we know if we're going negative. So like I said, on this campaign, I made $7.23 for every dollar I spent on marketing. This is the only metric that matters. All that other stuff is just to get me to this number.
I think you could fix the national deficit with this program.
Right? Don't spend money if you don't make money.
You know?
So the left wing, the right wing,
And like I said, what's the one campaign that we're doing? Is that like $35 each right now? $35 per dollar? Well, it's gonna be a little bit lower, because we got a smaller wholesale fee.
It's been adjusted. Yes, Mike.
Ryan, that $7.23, does that include the dollar that you spent?
The dollar that I
So if you spend $1 and you get back $7.23, or you get back $8.23, you get back your original dollar plus $7.23 profit,
No,
or does that
I-
$7.23 include your dollar?
I kept the numbers consistent through the examples I watched. So, 69 cents per unit. $1,382 is
The amount you spent.
You
to get
spend
those.
on 2,000.
Right. I spent $1,300 to get on the 2,000 units. Cost per lead. Offers are 6 to 1. That's not relevant to the calculation of the ROI. Cost per sale, the $23.04 is the 69 cents per unit is in there somewhere. Yes. Yeah, it's in the cost per sale. That's what it is. So
you're actually getting $8.23 back, and your profit is $7.23.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that was.
am I not understanding the question?
No, we got it.
I got it.
Yeah, we got it.
See, I was asking that $7.23, did that include your dollar, or did you really get back $8.23 for every dollar you spent, and $7.23 of that was profit?
So he's asking, is that net or gross?
Exactly, is your $7.23 net or gross with the dollar?
It's the
723
gross.
net.
It looks like gross
It's
to
gross
me.
because
you haven't
gross,
factored
yes.
10,000 minus 1,300 because of the money you spend.
Divided by. Not minus, it's divided by.
Yeah, so your net profit is $10,000 minus 1,300.
Yes, you have to spend 1,300 to get 10,000 back.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
within that 10,000, you get back your original $1,382.
Yes.
Right.
So your net profit is you subtract those two.
Got it.
But I know, as far as our metrics, for every dollar I spent, I got $7.23 back.
Yep, so your profit's $6.23.
Yes.
Yes.
Per dollar.
That's
That
what-
was my question. Okay.
That's why I'm thinking 600.
Response rate. Everybody gets hung up on response rate. What's your response rate? Which would you rather have?
It
1/2 of
depends.
1%?
It depends.
Like old man's underwear.
1%. These are real numbers.
If it's
This is not
crappy
hypothetical.
neighborhood, you probably get 3, but if it's A+ neighborhood,
What's the only metric that matters?
ROI.
Do you think we mail to the 3% response anymore? You know which one that was? Inherited.
What was it?
Inherited.
Inherited.
oh, 0.
We got a 3% response. It was one of our highest polling campaigns. We made no money. So we don't mail to that anymore.
I did make money.
So that's why,
Oh, is that where
Mike
your
got
tortilla
the
house
deal.
came from?
Tortilla House.
That's why you got the deal.
Keep working on that.
Yep, if it wouldn't have turned into probate, no, but it was good. I learned a ton on
Sort
that.
of.
That was a great seminar. That was really good. Plus cash. So-
Deals after that, Patrick, are gonna be very easy. After that messy deal, it only gets easier after that.
Unless you stay with Dave, then
Oh.
somehow, some way,
He makes simple things very complex.
it kind of retracts that.
But you learn.
Yeah, well, you can't help but learn. You have to learn to survive. You've got to do that. So that's good.
So response rate is irrelevant. I would not get hung up on it. It's a, you know, in the marketing industry, it's something that everybody talks about, but it means absolutely nothing.
So,
Did you make money or didn't you make money?
so the question should be, what's your closing rate, or what's
Return on investment, if I don't.
Well, actually, let me, if I can.
I don't think it should be closing rate either, because, I mean, you might close a whole bunch of people if you only get $1,500 wholesale. I'd rather close one deal at $100,000 than
Right.
10 deals
One
at 10 grand, right? So,
Yeah. I have something on that here, Tim. So what should you be measuring? When it comes to marketing, it's not the ROI. Did anybody call? That's what matters. That's what you're trying to accomplish, right? You're trying to get people to call. You're not trying to buy the house. What are
Well,
you trying to do?
if that's the criteria, then the response rate looks great too. You'll be calling back.
True, yeah. For your purposes, I'm trying to make it easy because I know you guys don't have what we have.
Right.
Did anybody call? Because that's your objective. Your objective is really, you know, to get to the, making the money, but if you wanna measure something, did anybody call?
and again, with that response rate, it was to a very, very niche list, so that's what his response rate was relative to that, you know, it's just an example. It's not saying, oh, higher response rate's always bad.
Right.
Here's something else that you might wanna keep an eye on. When they called, was it the type of product that you wanna buy?
That's the key.
Yes. My other highest response rate, which was before I started measuring results, was an accidental mailing to a timeshare community in Orange County. I got my phone rang off the hook for probably 2 weeks straight.
And let me tell you, the other two highest response that we get is if we do a new mailer and we accidentally get a 55+ community like Leisure World, they all call, every one of them. And maybe they just wanna talk on the phone, I don't know what it is, but they all call. So,
They don't want the timeshare.
and the other one, when I was doing internet marketing, we'd get, our average was 150 leads per month. Our highest response was somebody with a mobile home in a park who wanted to sell it. That was the highest, those were the #1 callers came in, so I had to weed through all that crap to get to the equity sellers of real estate, because mobile home's not real estate, so.
So remember earlier when we were talking about property characteristics and the zoning? That's why this is important. This would have saved me a ton of money. This is when I was, you know, first playing around with mail and didn't know that you need to ask for stuff like that. I got a bunch of timeshare stuff in South Orange County.
Buy any?
No. I was very disappointed.
Was that the POD you're talking about?
No, that's, PUD is like a, like an HOA community.
They're condos.
But not a condo. They are technically condos, you're right. But they're not necessarily like attached structures.
See, I have one PUD rental in a single family house, the simple lot, but it has a big park in the middle with a clubhouse and a pool.
Yes.
For $60 a month, you get to use the park, the clubhouse, and the trash can police stay on top of you.
Yeah.
I have a PUD rental also, and it's a townhouse.
And, I mean, you could have a condo that's 2,700 square foot, 5-bedroom house, only it's a condo because the only way they could not
Build it or something.
Yeah.
The only,
And it
build
can be a
a
single
big house
family
on a
detached
down
house.
lot is to do
Irvine
that.
has that.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of that. So what's the timeshare community? What zoning would there be? Is this?
You know, I don't, you'd think I would've committed that to memory and never forgot it, I don't know.
It's not SFR, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I got that. I'm good. We're good there.
Stick with SFR.
The response is so tremendous.
No, timeshare is, the reason why people wanna sell them is because they're
Trapped.
The maintenance.
They're stuck.
I mean, people are giving them away right now.
Oh, yeah.
There are, it's like.
Call Peter.
So mine.
Yeah.
We're trying to dump it.
Yeah.
Call Peter.
I mean, they're great for while they're using them, then when you wanna get rid of them, they suck.
Yeah.
Cause you got annual maintenance fees.
I've never had it.
So, it's my opinion that when we're talking about measurements, whether or not you bought anything is not really the biggest factor. That's more a measure of your negotiating skill. If the phone rings and there's an opportunity there and you didn't buy something, that's not because your marketing sucks. We're talking about marketing only, not what comes after that, right? We're just coming up to the phone ringing, or leading up to the phone ringing, so take that for what it's worth. Fulfillment. List sources, where to get the lists. Title company is my favorite. Melissa Data is a paid service. Use them, be careful what you ask for. MLS is free. Realist, we talked about doing the polygon maps of around certain neighborhoods. I think you can pull out 5,000 a month, right, in a way?
Yeah.
Yes.
5,000 a month? 5,000, that's a lot of mail. I mean, 5,000 pieces a month. If you've got it down to 5,000 usable addresses, scrub out the ones with equity, that you really want to hit. That ought to keep you busy. And a new one I just discovered is Listability. I have not tested them, but I liked what they had to offer.
How'd you find them?
I've got probably 100 bookmarks of list brokers, and I was looking for ones that were starting a business.
So which one do you use specifically?
I've used all of them except Listability.
Don't click that off yet.
Which one worked best for you?
Yeah, is one better than the other, or?
Well, it's just, title company, you're gonna get it for free, but you get what you pay for, right? You might spend a few cents per name from Melissa Data, but you might get cleaner data. We get a ton of stuff back that we.
What's your experience with Melissa?
I've used it before, and their data's clean. They run it through the. It's an address check through the USPS to make sure that the addresses are valid. I mean, it's paid data, so it's a little better. And they will guarantee up to a certain NICSI rate. I don't remember what it is, but a certain they will refund you if you get more than a certain amount back.
You've never used RealQuest?
Same as Realist, or is it different?
It's different.
RealQuest is different. It is the modern day version of WinData 2000.
No.
At Realist, you can pull stuff off just off the MLS, off of Realist, right?
No, you can pull everything. You can
I-
go.
No, yeah, it's tax roll.
Yeah, okay. And,
Right,
but you can just do that through the MLS,
which
because it's
company
linked.
are you guys
Right.
currently
Right?
using?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Because Realist is just linked to the MLS, so you can just
For
pull it
title?
off through the MLS, right?
No, for data, because you
Yeah.
said you used all of them
Show
in the
you.
past, but which currently
But
you using?
Realist is
right now?
tied in. Their NOD stuff is tied in. So for holder tracker, it's the same info.
I'm sorry, I'm running through like I said, we've got 15 campaigns. Our
No,
biggest ones are from.
the data, which company are you currently buying from?
Buying data from?
Yes.
Melissa Data.
Our REI source is another good one, too.
Yeah, I use REI source.
Yeah.
Realist actually pulls county stuff too, from what I was told, because it's a first American project, and I asked them.
You good, Mike?
specifically.
What's that?
Alright. Supplies. Some of the stuff that we passed around today. InvestorDMSupplies.com. Envelopes Express. USPS, there's nothing wrong with the good old post office. Part of our system is, I call it our just-in-time fulfillment, so our system will look 2 weeks into the future and tell me here's all the material that you're gonna need for the next 2 weeks to drop, so I can order stuff and get it in when the mail, when they're due. So if we order all our postage off of USPS.com, click to mail is the only thing that we've ever used for postcards. It works good enough. It's not very easy to get around it.
Take me to it,
It's hard.
Yeah. It's very, very cumbersome, very clunky system, but it works.
Is that a privately owned company?
They look like they're affiliated with the post office. I don't know that they are.
I thought they were
They are
contract.
sister, that's what